Hello friends, welcome back to Tales and Tales with Brittany. My name's Brittany and it's my favorite time of the month, the time when I get to play my TBR game, Cats on a Bookshelf. So in this game, I am racing against the clock, trying to gather up all of my books for a TBR before these little cats get up to mischief and knock books off of our TBR, knock things off of the bookshelf, knock over the potted plants, whatever they can get up to make things a little bit more difficult. So for this game, I roll a dice. This month I'm playing with a 10-sided dice. I roll the dice, I complete easy, medium, or hard prompts, or I land on a square that is let's play a game that helps me play a little fun mini game in order to continue on and to find out what books I'm going to read. And if I land on one of these squares with a cat, we flip over a cat mischief card and see what mischief we are up to. So I've decided to take a leaf out of Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy's book, where for her TBR game, she only does 5 rolls, and then depending on what's going on or if she has a punishment for not finishing her board, she rolls a 6 roll. I will say that if it gets me to the start square or the end square, I'm just going to consider that as a mood read, and I'm going to loop around and continue on through until I have done my full 5 to 6 rolls. In the month of October, I am planning to participate in 4 readathons. I'm hoping to participate in TBR Harvest by Leandra the TBR Zero. It's such a fun game and there's multiple ways to play. There's a fun board game where you can collect ghosties and kitty cat companions. There is a booktuber bingo, as well as there is tomes and tombstones, which is kind of a scavenger hunt. I'll also be participating in Hallow Weekend by Books with Lexi. This takes place kind of across a 72-hour period on every weekend in October, including kind of that last weekend going into early November. And in this version of the game, we are playing her version of her TBR game, Escape the TBR, and trying to move around the house to investigate and pick up different equipment and see if we can determine what the ghost is going on. I'll also be participating in Treathon, which is a fun Discord-based readathon. It is also a bingo board game in which you are able to select and make your own bingo board from a list of 50 prompts, and then each prompt is worth a different amount, and different types of bingos are worth a different amount. Trick or Treatathon is a competitive based readathon, and then the final readathon that I plan to be taking place or participating in is Fablin, which was created by Margaret of the Word Nerd. It is essentially a D&D based readathon in which kind of every few days kind of a new prompt drops and you're kind of exploring a story that way. For all of these readathons, I have decided to pretty much consider roll as you go approach to them, or kind of approach the prompts kind of as they're dropped in the case of Fablin. I'm going to be very loosey-goosey with this. If I think a prompt or a book potentially fits, I'm going to make it fit, especially for those non-competitive based games, because ultimately I want to have fun. I want to participate in the community and participate in all of these readathons, but at the same time, I don't want to overstretch myself. It is Wednesday, December, goodness. So it is Wednesday, September 24th when I'm filming this, and so far I've read a total of 0 books off of my September TBR. Fingers crossed that hopefully by the end of this month I'll at least have read 1 or 2 books off of my September TBR, but I'm not fully holding my breath. A little bit more successful with some of my readathon TBRs, but still I've been in a major mood reading mode and apparently don't want to read any of the books that are on my current September TBR. In my defense, I was on vacation from September 7th until September 13th. And in that time frame, the only thing that I read, and pretty much the only time that I read anything that I at least retained the information of, was when I was on the planes and on the way to the airport. So as a reminder, for my September, Mr. Bean, he's up to trouble. So as a reminder, my September TBR, for a red cover, I was going to read Blood and Honey by Shelby Maroon. For a BIPOC author or representation, I was supposed to read Gods of Jade and Shadow. I'm definitely still interested in this book as part of Hispanic Heritage Month. Luckily, that tends to last, or is, from September 15th until October 15th. So I wanted to wait to start that book until after September 15th. And so far, I just haven't had a chance, just trying to finish up all of my currently reading books that I had started prior to going on vacation. I also had the prompt to finish a series, for which I had selected Emerald Green. I had the prompt for Matches Your Outfit, and I was in an adorable Summerween shirt when I made my TBR. So I had chosen The Twisted Dead by Darcy Coates. I had also selected a book that scares you, and I was going to attempt to branch out into more horror by reading The Honeys. I also rolled an alien, monster, paranormal romance that happened to be a manga or graphic novel that also had a random color. And if I remember correctly, I do believe it was a gray color that the random color generator selected. I then also rolled a book that was 300 pages or less, or approximately 300 pages. And with that, I had to do the first line challenge, and I selected Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. Hello, Mr. Bean. And then out of my TBR punishment jar, because I hadn't completed my August TBR, I pulled Pride and Prejudice. Where'd you go? So, I didn't read a single number one of those books. So that means I get to draw again from my TBR jar. Mr. Bean is mad because I didn't read a single book. Say hi to your friends. Say hi to your friends. No? Okay. So as a punishment, I do have this lovely little spooky jar of a little black cat that has some Amish romances in it. Do I think it will be actually a punishment to read Amish romances? No, I do think it's potentially a genre that I could really enjoy, especially depending on how cozy they end up feeling. But I did promise one of my friends, Nat, that I would attempt to read an Amish romance, because I unfortunately put her in a slump by recommending that she read Morning Glory Milking Farm. Did I think it was going to be a book that she would enjoy? Absolutely not, but that book is absolutely bonkers, and I feel like if you are potentially open to reading a book that contains smut, that is a book everyone needs to try, because it is bonkers and surprisingly wholesome, but also bonkers and Minotaur smut. But so anyway, one of my friends gave me some recommendations of her favorite Amish romances, so we have 4 of those here. So let's do a lovely little shake. Have them here on some orange post-it notes, which I thought would be perfect for Halloween. So we have The Decision by Wanda E. Brunstetter. Discover along with Jonah Miller how life can begin anew in the prairie state of Illinois. Moving from Pennsylvania, finding rewarding work, and leaving heartbreak behind is the best decision Jonah ever made. But is he ready to consider love again when he meets Elaine Schrock? Will his scarred heart bend when he chooses family loyalty over love? Oh, that seems so cute and wholesome. Roll number 1. We have a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's play a game. Trick or treat. Alrighty, so we have our first Halloween card, Trick or Treat. So essentially for this, I have to pick 2 books. One book that I'm really looking forward to reading at this time. Another book that I do want to read, but I do think that it now might not be the right time. I flip a coin and decide which book I end up reading. I'm going to be using this lovely Canadian toonie. This is a $2 coin. that we use. In Canada, we have coins for our loonies and our toonies. We don't have paper bills. So for this, let us select what books we are going to be choosing. For my trick, I'm going to choose a book off of my 25 in 2025 bingo board and choose Priory of an Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I've been really wanting to read this book and have been looking forward to it, but it is huge, it is chunky, and now is not the time for me to start a chunky book, considering it tends to take me 2 to 3 months to read chunky books. So for tales, we are going to have Priory of an Orange Tree. For my treat, which is a book I have been wanting to read, or I think is a really good time of year right now to read, I want to read Blood and Honey, which is the second book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy by Shelby Maroon. This book was originally on my September TBR, and I just didn't have time to get to it, but now I think is the perfect time to have a witch and witch hunter romantasy and to read it going forward. So that one will be my heads. Let's flip this coin. I haven't flipped a coin in a very long time. And alrighty, let's learn together. No, it's the polar bear. It's tails. That means we're reading, and by we I mean me, Priory of an Orange Tree. So the Priory of an Orange Tree, which is a total of 848 pages, by Samantha Shannon. A world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakens. The house of Berethnet has ruled the Ines for 1,000 years. Still unwed, Queen Sabran IX must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are getting closer to her door. Ede Duran is an outsider at court. Though she has risen to the position of lady-in-waiting, she is loyal to a hidden society of mages. Ede keeps a watchful eye on Sabran, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Across the Dark Sea, Tanae has trained to be a dragon rider since she was a child, but is forced to make a choice that could see her life unravel. Meanwhile, the East and West refuse to parley, and the forces of chaos are rising from their sleep. Interesting. Didn't realize that at least it seems there's at least 3 main female POVs. I have heard overall wonderful things, that this is a queer fantasy. Definitely looking forward to kind of progressing through this. It's such a big chunky book that I think it's going to take the entire month for me to read. Not the spookiest of leaning books, so I am excited to continue. It's definitely something that I have really wanted to read this year, and since it is on my 25 and 2025 list, better start it sooner rather than later, especially if it is going to take me 2 to 3 months to read. Roll number 2. We have a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is an easy prompt. We have a black cover. For a book with a black cover, I'm going to read the 3rd Zodiac Academy book, The Reckoning. This series follows 2 fae princesses that went missing and were presumed dead, but they have then been found and been brought back into the fairy world. But in order to inherit their parents' rich title, they have to attend this school and then graduate. Kind of in their absence, because everyone thought they were dead, a council has come in and has essentially taken over the world, and there are kind of the 4 heirs to these council members that are also attending this school, and they are trying to, essentially they were trying to bully the 2 twins to make them want to leave the school. But the twins, they are resourceful, and as they are learning and discovering their magic, they are wanting to stand their ground, and all they want is the money, and then they'll leave. They don't want to rule this world, but kind of at this point there is kind of some other internal mechanisms that are occurring. There is some drama. There is the who is going to be endgame in regards to the love interests. Overall, a very enjoyable book. It's really bingeable despite it being a chunky book. The writing style definitely takes a little bit of time to get used to, but once I got used to that, especially with the graphic audios, these books are such a quick, speedy read. I think I binged the 2nd book in just a matter of a few days, and it's quite a chunky book. For number 3, we have a 3. 1, 2, 3. Another Let's Play a Game of Social Media Scroll. Well, we know how difficult this was for me for the Readathon Rebellion, so let's hope that my social media scroll finds me a fun little seasonal pick. All right, it's time to do my social media scroll. Fingers crossed this time my footage actually saves. Last time I tried to do this in the month of August, let's just say I forgot to hit the end recording and my footage never saved. So I'm going to scoot myself over a little bit. I do have Goodreads up on my computer here, so let's do a little bit of a scroll and see if there's any books that I'm potentially interested in. So it looks like Tori from Tori Between Pages read The Second Death of Locke, and I heard wonderful things from her about this. Not really in the position right now to start another series if possible, so I'm going to keep on scrolling, see if there's anything that kind of catches my eye. Silver Cloak is definitely another book that I want to read. Oh, I see here that our lovely friend Monica of Little Bit of Monica has caught the Dungeon Crawler Carl bug and has read Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is perfect because I think if I come across the first book, might as well add the second book to my series. Might as well add the second book to my TBR. So it looks like this month I'll be reading the second Dungeon Crawler Carl book, which is called Carl's Doomsday Scenario. Woo! The first Dungeon Crawler Carl follows Carl. He has just broken up with his girlfriend after she just cheated on him. He walks outside in the winter because his girlfriend's cat, who he is currently watching while she is on vacation, sneaks outside and goes up a tree. He walks outside wearing pink Crocs that are way too small and just his underwear. And while he's outside trying to get Princess Donut out of a tree, the whole buildings around them just collapse and goes bam right into the ground. So essentially everyone who was inside of those buildings at the time of this apocalypse is dead. And then something comes on, kind of like an announcement saying that they have all become essentially dungeon crawlers, that if they kind of go down these certain set of stairs, that they enter into this essentially televised competition where they try to defeat different demons and creatures in a dungeon in order to become the final dungeon crawler and hopefully be able to help save the earth. Overall, really enjoyed this. Lovable side character of Princess Donut. This book, it's lighthearted-ish. It's silly. There's a lot of pop culture references, but really excited to continue on in the series. Number 4. We have a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Landing back on the start. So I'm going to put that in as a mood read. Right. So for mood read, I think I'm going to actually follow the prompt and wait to see how I feel kind of throughout the month. I'll probably choose a book at some point through the month, whether it's one of my required reads that I wasn't able to get onto my TBR, or whether it is another kind of spooky book that I'm just feeling, or if it's kind of a book that comes up as part of a prompt in one of the readathons. Cats on a Bookshelf roll number 5. We have another 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Another easy prompt, which is a backlist book. For my backlist book, I have chosen to read Iron Kiss, which is the 3rd book in the Mercy Thompson series. Really excited to be continuing on with this series. This series follows a coyote shifter that is living amongst a werewolf pack. Overall, the book seems to be very much kind of monsters of the week. At this current point where each book so far, Mercy has had to kind of confront something that's going on and solve a case, and there is kind of some romance and love triangles going on in the background. This is a book I was supposed to read in September for one of my readathon TBRs, and unfortunately did not get a chance to get to it, but I am excited to continue and really excited to have a romance or a shifter-based book going into Spooky Month. And since I got a mood read, might as well go ahead and do one extra roll. So Cats on a Bookshelf roll number 6. We have a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a hard prompt of, ooh, another Halloween one, cauldron or potion on the cover. You want to say hello? Say hi, Vader. This is Vader, my other kitten. You probably might know him from my intro. He's not as much of a social boy, and as you can see, he does not want to say hi to the camera. Okay, Vader, go on. Well, finding a book with either a cauldron or a potion on the cover was a little bit harder than expected. I really wanted to kind of focus on looking for a book that was either part of my 25 and 2025 or part of my This Series Will Self-Destruct list, and unfortunately nothing came up on that list. I did think about reading A Drop of Corruption, which is on my r/fantasy bingo TBR, but ultimately I didn't want to start a series right now if I didn't have to. So I did actually decide to do A Captured Cauldron. This is the second book in the Side Quest Row series, which overall the first book follows a set of rival potioneers that end up having kind of a shop across the way from each other in this like little town that is essentially where you would say if someone was in a D&D campaign or kind of off an adventure, where they would go and visit to hopefully help and restock everything that they need. Thing that a traveling party would need to recoup themselves. And essentially there is kind of a rivalry between the two. Ambrose has been there for quite some time. He's inherited the shop from his former mentor, and then this new gentleman comes along and opens up a shop across the way that has potions that are slightly more discounted, and he starts to take away Ambrose's, I guess, clientele. And he starts to take away some of Ambrose's clientele, and a rivalry forms, and that rivalry might turn into a little bit of feelings, and they might fall in love. So definitely excited to continue on in the series. Not too sure what exactly book 2 is about, but overall it was a very cozy vibe for book 1. So definitely exactly what I need going into the fall, into the October season. I have myself a lovely little stack of TBR books for this month. So for my TBR jar pick, I have The Decision, which is an Amish romance. For my Trick or Treat, I rolled a trick, and by roll I flipped a coin for a trick, and it chose The Priory of an Orange Tree. For a book with the black cover, I am reading The Reckoning, the second book in the Zodiac Academy series. For a cauldron or potion on the cover, I am reading A Captured Cauldron, which is part of the Side Quest Row series. For Backlist, I am reading the third book in the Mercy Thompson series, Iron Kissed. For a mood read, we're going to see how the month moves along and how I feel. And for a social media scroll, I'm reading the second Dungeon Caller Carl book, Carl's Doomsday Scenario. So thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Cats on a Bookshelf, my TBR game. I hope you all have a wonderful day, whether it's morning, noon, and night. And I hope your next spooky read is a 5-star.